Good evening, sir. My name is Unnati and I'm currently pursuing my master's in cybersecurity. I'm here with my classmates Jalp and Simran, and today, with great pleasure, I have the honor of interviewing Ajmal Sir, who has many years of experience, so much that I wasn't even born when Sir started in this industry. So the purpose of this interview is like to gain valuable insights on how you began, how your journey was, what made you interested in cybersecurity. So let's start with like a brief introduction about yourself.
Thank you, Unnati. Hi, Simran, Unnati, and Jal Patel.
Hello, sir.
Nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you too.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me for this discussion. Of course, I'm happy to share the learnings and how the journey actually began.
Yeah.
Right, because at this point in time, like most of my colleagues, we want to give back to the society. Right, almost 20 plus years that we've been fighting the bad actors. Right, whether it is insider threat, whether it is external threat, irrespective of the level of sophistication. Since you conveyed that you're cybersecurity students, right, you might be aware of the different threat actors who exist. Right, there are script kiddies, right, who are just venturing there and then trying to do something. They may come from within the organization, they may come from external to the organization, right? Then there are cyber criminals who basically have a specific motive with which they come in. It could be data exfiltration, it could be ransomware, it could be any of these. Of course, these days, some of these are available as a service as well, right? Ransomware as a service and things like that. And then the most sophisticated attacks that you will see will come in from nation state actors, right? Whether you're protecting a banking segment, right, which is what I was doing at Standard Chartered, right, as a VP in InfoSec, or whether it is the e-commerce segment, right, which is where we were protecting multiple e-commerce companies, right, which can disrupt a nation's e-commerce backbone, right. It is no lesser a threat uh, compared to your banking industry. Then there is the telecom sector, which can disrupt the entire communication network for a country, for a region. Right? It may be targeted specifically for your customers. It uh, can also be listed companies, right? Where any news or any malicious act has a direct impact on the stock movement, right? It could be before a company goes for an IPO, they ensure that they have sufficient preparedness because they know that now they have become an organization of maybe slightly more significant interest to an attacker, right? When they're planning to go for an IPO, that's where the prices may fluctuate as well. So this is how you will face right different types of threat actors. It can be a simple uh, since you said you're from cybersecurity, you're aware of the cyber kill chain, right? By Lockheed Martin, how it works. So basically, there's reconnaissance, right, where people gather information about your company, right, which is where there are now there is now a lot of maturity in the companies compared to when we started a couple of decades ago, right? People are aware what to disclose, what not to disclose, but still they are vulnerable. Your employees will continue to be vulnerable, all right, because now the endpoint is definitely shifting from where it was. Now they can access to your mobile devices, right? Now
Easily.
you look at do I have mobile device management MDM solution in place, right? Now the data loss prevention. Now there are multiple innovative ways in which the data loss can occur compared to the traditional ways where somebody was copying to the USB and the companies can definitely monitor that, right? People tend to put up things on the Google Drive. It could be as simple as accessing a WhatsApp web, right? Mostly your HTTP, HTTPS traffic. Now, how do you secure those, right? So that's when new tools will come in, like your data loss prevention. Not pretty new because I've been working on this for almost 15 plus years now, though it existed in different forms. But then the threats continue to evolve. So you have to protect your organization. Now you have to take a structured approach because not everything can be randomized, right? Now, as a cybersecurity person or a cyber defense person, you have to get everything right. But an attacker has to find just one thing that is not right? Now, what got me interested in this? I think that was your second question,
Yes.
right? So when we joined, it was more of a campus placement for us. There were about four people who got selected at that point in time. And that's where I started my career with iFlex Solutions, which is now Oracle Financial. Since Oracle acquired it, it was a spin-off from the Citigroup, right, which is into the banking segment. So we had like core banking solutions like FlexQ. There were other solutions like Daybreak and others. Now here, when you're supporting a banking customer, right, the security requirements will be different depending on the nature of the customer, right? If you're protecting your organization, you have to understand the landscape in which the company is operating, right? Is it operating in an environment which requires PCI compliance, right? Am I working with cardholder data? No, that's where your scoping will come in, saying which systems are to be PCI compliant, which systems are outside the scope, which systems are within the scope.
This
Now
GRC.
these are multiple things. Okay. Now when you come to GRC part, right? The first thing that any company does is basically they establish a set of security policies, right, which may be derived from the organization landscape. Now, they are designed to communicate to your employees what is your risk appetite. A risk appetite for a bank might be low, but a risk appetite of a startup may be much higher,
Yeah, true.
right? Which is where they want to be much faster to the market. Sometimes security comes as an afterthought, where I said, like when a company is planning to go for an IPO, that might also be the first time that they may actually go in for an external pen test to get an external view of systems. That might be the time the security investments might increase, where you're trying to onboard a CISO just to be compliant to some of the regulations. Now, of course, data privacy is another part. I will not touch upon that much, but just for your information, there are various regulations which govern the data privacy, right, of your employees, of your customers, and the stakeholders with whom you work. So that's another paradigm that you'll have to look at as a GRC professional, right? Though there may be a separate chief data privacy officer who may work alongside your chief information security officer, which is your CISO role.
Yeah.
Okay, so first thing that you do is establish your security policies, which will set the tone of the management. What is an acceptable use? What is not an acceptable use of the company infrastructure, systems, and data? Right? What is allowed? What is not allowed as per the organizational policies? What are the bare minimum controls? Because your policies will only set the baseline on which your teams will have to build on top of it. Whether it is your IT team, whether it is your office services or the facilities management team, or any
Operations
of
team.
these teams that you work with. So, as a GRC professional, your job, right, in my view, because each of us may take a different approach to solve a problem. It's not that one is right, one is wrong. All of them may give you a solution, right? So, as a GRC professional, you'll have to integrate security within the organization and take all the teams together with you.
Okay.
When you are doing a risk assessment, right, the teams for whom you're conducting the risk assessment should be able to support you, whether it is for network security, whether it is for your IT teams, whether it is for your office services and facilities management. Now it may come slightly as a surprise to you that why are we talking of office services or facilities management? Right? So they are responsible for managing the entire operations of the organization, right? Whether it is whether it is the loading and unloading areas, which is something that you'll have to secure. How the physical access is managed, right? That's where you'll have to support them. Now, there are different levels of maturity in security, right? When we started, it used to be a part of a single team within the organization, but then later, security has definitely gained a lot of significance in today's world. Now, there are dedicated teams within the security space who basically focus on the information security aspects for the company. The second is how you structure your security organization for the company, depending on the size of the company. You may not always get a three lines of defense. Sometimes you'll have to manage with limited resources as well. So that's where you'll have to plan and tailor the security solutions to the organizations that you're going to be working for. So understand the threat landscape, understand the threat actors, right? Create a threat model. You're aware of Stride, you're aware of Pasta. Use the one that works best for you. Similarly, for risk assessment, right? You can use any of those methodologies. There are also tools which are now available in the market. Some of them may not be as mature as you would like, but definitely that is something that will give you an insight into how you want to manage the risk for an organization.
Okay. So this was very nice.
Did I answer your questions
Yeah,
or did
yeah.
I miss any part?
No, it was a very nice answer and a touch into like GRC, risk and threat intelligence. So, following that, like, what is one like memorable case or incident that you remember that shaped your like approach to cybersecurity?
There are many. There are many things that happen. Of course, in today's world, you also have to disclose if there are any incidents that occur in the organizations, right? Depending on the regulators that you're working with, right? So the thing that is memorable to me is basically the way I have seen the evolution, where most of the tools that we have worked with, we have shared feedback to the companies which provide these security solutions, and then they continue to include those as part of the continuous improvement. So, given the last couple of decades, I would say that is the most memorable thing because things that you recommended are now available in the solutions in the companies, and some of them also come up with your recognition for it.
So, this
Okay,
is
so I have one question for you. So, like you said earlier, like you have seen a growing industry in cybersecurity. So, what is the like what type of changes you did see or you see in every days in the particular cybersecurity domain?
Lot of changes, right from the sophistication of attacks, right from the external threats that you see, right, the insider threats that you see. So there has been a lot of changes because many times you see your company insiders are trying to do things which may not be a secure way of doing that, right? And one significant thing, Jal, to answer your question is security traditionally was seen as a blocker because they feel like just like maybe the first thing that comes to their mind maybe a security guard who's trying to stop them, right? That has significantly changed in today's world, right? At least in the companies that I work with, because the first thing that you do is try to get to understand your stakeholders, understand your requirements, and then you call your team as a security enablement team, which means that we allow you to do what you're doing, but in a secure way and in a much more faster way than what an insecure way might be to approach a solution. For example, Jal, to answer your question, the cost of change at a later stage of any product life cycle is much more expensive than getting it right in the design phase. Right? When you're creating a solution, how do you authenticate to the system? Right? How do you ensure that the right people have the right level of access that you need? Right? You might also be aware of zero trust architectures.
yeah.
Right? So that is where you basically trust nothing but validate everything, right? So now this has to be seamless. That is, I think, one of the key requirements that is going to be for you guys as you come in into the industry, because security is now and a domain that people do understand, right? Where earlier we had to educate and then implement the solutions. Now that may be slightly more comfortable to you because people are aware that they need security.
Really
Right now, how
nice.
do you integrate that into the entire project life cycle? Now, whether you're a services company or whether you're a product-based company, right? How do you ensure that the security requirements are integral to the solution that you are building? Right from the authentication mechanisms, how do you ensure authorizations? basically testing your APIs which may access those applications, ensuring that your network infrastructure is safe, right? It should not be a flat network where an attacker is able to move freely and do lateral movements.
Okay, I have two follow-up questions. Do you believe like insider threat is like the most critical risk like threat? And secondly is like after answering this question with an explanation, can you just explain in simple terms zero trust policy for the content?
Okay. Now, this, I think, Unnati, there are two parts to your question,
Yeah.
right? Now, the first part is, do you see insider threat as a significant threat, right? Now, any threat, any risk is basically, you have different approaches that you can take. You either perform a qualitative risk assessment or you perform a quantitative risk assessment. Qualitative is wherein you say that, the risk is either low, medium, or high. It could be an expert judgment based on the a product of your probability and impact in simpler terms, right? Then it could also be identifying your crown jewels, which are the most important to be protected even within the company. So here to answer your second part, there are three areas that you'll have to look at, right? Whether it is an insider threat or an external threat. One is the ingress. Ingress is basically where all an attacker can enter your systems, right? Second is egress. Egress is basically from where all the data exfiltration or the egress can happen from your systems. It could be your endpoints, it could be your servers, it could be your IoT devices and things like that. And third, and the other important thing is the lateral movement. If somebody has gained access to the system, right, it should just be on a need to know basis. The person should not be able to elevate their privileges. They should not be able to make lateral movement into your network. For example, uh, you have vendors. I think this may get slightly deeper for you, but I'll just try to keep it in a minute or
An
two for you.
example would be nice.
There may be vendors that, yeah, I'll give you an example. Um, yeah, I think that an example may help you. Now, suppose I have suppliers, right, in my company, any organization, right, who may come in and work from a lab. They may be just a trainer for the company, or they may have just come into the company and then they may just be providing some installation support of a new software or an application or a device that you have purchased, right? Now, basically, you categorize these suppliers into different groups. One is the suppliers who have physical and logical access to your systems, which could be your IT vendors, right? They will have physical as well as logical access to your system when they're coming in and trying to help you, right? They may be having access to your servers and the infrastructure and the network, right? So we'll, for simplicity, I'll call them category A vendors who have both physical and logical access. Second might be vendors who have physical access but no logical access, right? Now, who are these vendors potentially? They are your cleaning and maintenance staff, right? It's very easy to train them to basically take out maybe a specific component of the systems which may go unnoticed in the warehouse, because not all systems will be active. You may also have a storage, right? So people who have physical access but no logical access will be the second category of vendors,
Okay.
who will be a threat or a risk to your organization also potentially. Now, there is a third category of vendors who will neither have physical access nor have logical access. But still, as a GRC professional, you'll have to also look at them when you're doing a supplier security risk assessment. Now, these could be the vendors who print your ID cards, for example. Right? It's very simple to print another ID card, right? How are you disposing those ID cards? Now, these are category C vendors who have neither physical access nor logical access, but can still pose an area of concern to the security team, which may need to be covered. Does that answer your question, Unnati?
Yes.
Yes.
Any question, Jalp Simran?
So, like, how was the cybersecurity industry change? You
Like
started, and like, you like in real life running.
currently, what is booming?
In,
Like, is it you're asking, right?
Okay, I think there are two parts to that. One is what Jalp wanted to know. So when we started to now how it is, and Unnati is more focused on the future. Right, what is booming and what will be of interest for professionals who are coming into this. Now, when I started Jalp, just to share my personal journey, I was trained on networking, I was trained on database, I was trained on the Unix platforms, I was trained on the networking technologies and everything, so that we are available and can be staffed on any requirements that come in, right? And as a security professional, the foundation of this is critical because you are not going to build security on a superficial layer. You have to understand everything that the teams are doing on the ground. Now, how that has shaped me today is that anything that comes into the market, right? We basically, as a security team, and me personally as a security professional, we try to learn that so that we are able to guide the people who are working on this. Now, what is booming, Unnati? So, connecting that dot to your question, uh, as you guys are aware, right? Now, most of your employees might use ChatGPT,
Yeah.
Perplexity, right? AI, machine learning, deep learning. So
Yes.
this continues, to be the current uh,
Best.
area which is mostly used by your employees as well within the organization. Right now, there are different, of course, ISO standards that you can look at. But for me personally, I've of course done a lot of training on this labs. We have done, right? So we basically understand how the systems work from the ground up. We try to build, we try to break, we try to use systems in different ways, which our employees can use as well. Right now, this thing cannot happen over the weekdays. Right, so this happens over the weekend trainings. This happens during the free times that you get, and the companies are also aware of this, which is where they also subscribe to learning platforms so that their employees are constantly aware. Right now, it is just like so many things which are available to you as youngsters, but what is it that you make the best use of it? Right, a company may be giving you a learning platform, but you have to make the best use of it. Right, so that's where it is. So what is booming? Of course, right now there's industry focus on artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning. It's not something new. It's just that it has become more convenient now for people to use that. So, as a security professional, you do understand this from the bottom up, right? And given that most of these things have grown in front of you, right? The concept of cloud came in, right? And then it got a lot of adoption. Because previously, what used to happen is whenever a project comes in, right? You may also rent servers, right, as the development QA systems and all those where your teams are actually working. But now, then things started moving to the cloud. Right now, most of these things are also on the serverless architecture part as well. So you have to be aware of all of these. Most of those platforms, it may sound complex, but when you make it a habit, right, like for me, 20 plus years, right, then it becomes a part of your routine that you continue to update and upgrade yourself.
Okay. That's a very
Because you have to protect your organization irrespective of the kind of employees, kind of external threats, and the level of sophistication that may come in as well. Because your traditional solutions may not be able to, give you the same level of protection which they used to do a decade ago.
so as the
So you
attacks
have to
are
evolve.
as attacks are evolving, the security also has to evolve. Yes.
Yes, the attacker already knows what you're doing, most of those things, right? Now you may perform different posture checks, right? Whether it is a company authenticated system that is being used. There may be different controls that you may put in, right? Some of them may be detective controls, right, where your SOC is monitoring and all that. Some of them may be reactive controls. For example, an incident happens, right? There is a disaster. You need to, move to your backup environment, which is what we call as BCMS. Right? Since you come from GRC, I think I can explain this to you slightly more easily. All right, there are different standards that exist. If you take ISO as one, there's ISO 27001, which we call as ISMS. Information Security Management Standard. There's ISO 22301, which is your BCMS, Business Continuity Management Standard. There's ISO 20000, which is your IT service management standards. But there are these various standards. Some of them you may want to get your companies certified to, but the most important thing is to ensure compliance and build a security culture. Because at points, right, when I talk of social engineering attacks, right, when I talk of social engineering attacks, there is a possibility that your employees may be the human firewall, right? So that is where you also have to educate your employees, right? Because there's one thing that I always say: who is responsible for security, right? When you ask this question in an organization, the answer that I expect as a security professional is it's just like a family, right? Your home. Who is responsible for the security of your home? Everyone. Similarly, who is responsible for the security of your organization? Everyone, right?
Yeah.
You can have escorted access, you can have unescorted access. You should know which are the areas which are restricted, which are the areas which are public, right? Know what is the information that is public, and it's not that one information will remain public forever, or it will remain internal or restricted forever. It could be like, for example, as a GRC person, right? You're protecting your finance department or the data that is within the finance segment, right? It could be the quarterly results of the company. Now, this will be confidential until it is made public or published. Your quarterly results are published, right? Cycle is also managed. And of course, one important thing for you guys is when you're protecting your production, you should also give the same level of protection or at least an appropriate level of protection to your backup environments as well.
Okay.
Because some of the breaches may happen in the backup environment, they may happen in the non-production side.
Hmm. Backup also needs to be safe because if I mean some the main interface is attacked is like okay, but if backup is only attacked, then where do we go? That's a good take.
Correct.
You were saying something?
No, no, I said correct. That's right.
Okay, so next question is like with all the knowledge you have till now, okay, if you have to start again looking at the current scenarios, current everything that is going on, and you need to start from the start, scratch, as a college pass out, how will you move? What are the skill sets, mindset, a new person to cybersecurity should have?
Okay. Now see, it's just like asking a cricketer, right, when he gets into a new match, right? Now this is something that happens in cybersecurity also, right? When you join any company, right, it could be a part of mergers and acquisitions as well, because I've been part of quite a few of them, right? Now, when you get in, it is a new playground, right? You cannot allow those systems to directly connect to your corporate network just because a merger has happened or an acquisition has happened, right? So every project, every assignment to you will continue to be new, which is where you bring in your experience, your knowledge, and through open discussions, stakeholders management, right? And you of course need the support from the board members. You need support from your CEO,
Seniors.
right? You need support from your CFO to allocate you the budgets, right? That you need, right? And you also have to showcase the ROI, return on investment, on the investment that the company is making in you, in the tools and decisions that you make. Right? So every time it is going to be new, because people may come in with certain practices, and there may also be certain wrong information or misinformation that you may have to fight it out or clean it up, right? Because your predecessors may also have done things which may not fully align with what you want to achieve for the organization, right? Now, they might have done things which may give an impression of security, but then the controls may not be effective. Right? It is not just implementing the control, but ensuring that the controls are effective. And then there are metrics so that you can continuously measure that your security performance is getting better every day. It could be weekly, quarterly, and then you have to present this to the management as well.
How, like, which side would you pick? Which role would you pick if you're starting over again?
Okay, I think your question is like, would I get into GRC? Would I get into offensive security?
Yes.
Would I get into network security? Is
There's
it
so
something like
many
that?
domains like
And
blockchain,
we,
AI.
among all of this, which one is difficult?
According to you, which would you wait first? Like, which would you choose? With all the, so many years of experience and everything.
Okay, I think you expect me to say GRC.
No, no, your answer.
Maybe may not be. Maybe may not be. I'll tell you the reason why.
Okay.
Right, because each role in today's context, right, will give you an exposure to something depending on the scale of the organization that you're working with. If you're working for a startup, for example, you may have to wear multiple hats at the same time. You cannot say that I come from maybe a GRC background, so I may not be able to do some other things, right? So one thing, as a security professional, my personal advice for you guys, since of course we would want to share and give back to the society, would be that to keep the horizons open, continuously learn, all right, and grab knowledge, because the attackers don't target a specific domain, they target your company. So
True.
you should know how to respond to those, right? You should know how to neutralize those attacks.
Okay.
So, given an opportunity, if I have to start over again, I will definitely talk to all the departments. I will want to understand what my organization does, what are the threat vectors, right, to the company, and of course, from a domain expertise, you have to build as much as you can. Whatever area that you can cover, you have to try and cover that, because eventually you may transition into a CISO role, and you may not be comfortable saying that I come into a CISO role only from a GRC background, or I come into a CISO role only from a specific domain. So you will have to understand that. Of course, you can start once you join the companies, talking to the stakeholders there, get to understand, the areas where they need help from the security. Explain how you can contribute to that, and of course, you have to take your CISO into the confidence, right? Because you may not get a direct interaction at a high level, right? So your CISO may be able to guide you, which is where your managers will be there, so that they can nurture you on a day-to-day basis. They can monitor you, right? They can provide you the kind of support that you need, either in terms of knowledge, in terms of skills that you need, in terms of resources that you need. It could be as simple as books or study materials, to the tools that you need to learn, right? It could be a sandboxing environment that you may want to try on. It could be a SIEM solution that you want to understand how it works. It could be the firewalls and things like that. So try to understand everything that happens, because there is a reason why these systems exist,
True.
right? To protect your organization.
That's a good
So
perspective.
I would say get into an organization with an open mind, right? Uh, because there is an advantage that you guys have. You don't come with a baggage that I want to do only this, I want to do only that. So try to explore and see what best suits you, right? If you want to work on the research side and build solutions that don't exist in the security space today, because the world is going to change, and change is the only constant, right? Now, most of these cryptographic controls which were there in the past, they don't exist anymore, maybe,
Not at
or
all.
maybe they have advanced, right? Now, when it comes to quantum computing, right, which you guys might be
Yeah.
studying as well, right? Now, that is going to change some of these things, because quantum computing can be leveraged in certain areas, which is something that you have to be aware of, right? You have to ensure that your cryptographic controls are working even in a quantum world.
Yeah.
So the world is going to change. I would say that brace for it, enjoy the journey. Things will get better, and then you'll start liking it, and you'll never realize how years pass by.
Oh wow. We'll get old in no time. Jalp's question was, which is the most difficult one?
Which is the most difficult one? So, Jalp, in my view, there's nothing which is like difficult or easy, right? It just depends on the person, right? For example, for you, a simple carpentry work may be difficult, but for a carpenter, it is not, right? For somebody, an electrical work may be difficult, for an electrician, it may not be. Similarly, mechanical, right? The same thing goes in the cybersecurity space as well. There's nothing that's easy or difficult. Once you apply yourself, you go behind it, and then you master it. Because you have to deal with the bad actor who's simply going to attack you.
Hmm.
And you may not always have second chances.
Company will go down
Right? Of course,
financially
you
also.
would build. No, no, you will definitely build resilience into